let's talk about some Nintendo indie games. Now, I'm just rolling some B-roll on some of the Nindies releases that they've put out there, and there are some exceptional titles already on the platform. It's a very crowded machine when you go into the eShop. It's like, holy crap, look at all of these games. And one thing that I'm really kind of recognizing is that, you know, obviously you can play most of these indie games on other machines, on the PC especially, but something about the Nintendo Switch, you know, the controller interface and the portability makes it like the perfect destination. I remember, you know, really like a couple of years ago, really considering picking up one of those Microsoft Surface tablets that could also act as a PC, kind of like what the iPad has evolved into with its keyboard and all that stuff. Good job, Apple, borrowing from Microsoft, by the way. But I wanted to really looking at one of those Steam tablets or the Surface tablets as a way to access my Steam library and play lots of indie games. And you can, of course, do that and plug in a controller and all that stuff because they've got USB and all that. But then Nintendo comes out with the Switch, and it is kind of that. It is kind of like carrying a Steam library all over the place with you, and you have access to terrific indie games. And I thought, I'm going to review some new ones, but I thought, why don't I talk about 5? It's hard for me to say they're my favorite or the top 5 because they keep adding new indies in here that are just blowing my mind. But here are 5 games that I have really been impressed by. And I actually have a couple more than 5. I'm gonna say I'm gonna boil it down to 5, but I'm gonna say Night in the Woods is one of the. It's been out for a while. Let me just close this thing, and we'll press play on this. Night in the Woods is this quirky, very sort of adventure-driven type of experience. It's not like you have perfect controls or anything like that. It's not a platformer, but it kind of plays a little bit like a platformer. And you're running around inside of this town, but what makes this game so enchanting is the characters. They're obviously incredibly cute, but there's a great you know, assortment of funny quips and dialogue, and there's all these little mini games that are in there. It's got a maturity and a sense of snark about it that's really endearing, and it's super fun to play on the Nintendo Switch. So if you're looking for one, you haven't picked up Night of the Woods, definitely a very cool one. Enter the Gungeon is another fantastic title, and I've got a little bit of footage of that right here. This is a dual-stick shooter, which plays a little bit like Smash TV, but as a roguelike. So you just keep on going and going, and you find all kinds of new weapons. You know, it's a little bit like what's the one with the yeah, Hotline Miami, and also the Meat Boy guys dual-stick one, the religious one. Binding of Isaac. It's a little bit like Binding of Isaac. A little more kind of pixel art and sort of retro-esque, you know. It feels like something that could have come out of the 80s, but of course it's bullet hell, and there's all kinds of incredible flourishes on screen. It plays great on the Switch, and it's a great portable escape as well. But I'm going to start with number 5, which is, don't look at my cheat sheet there. It's number 5 is the Mutant Mudds collection, which Jules Watcham made through his company Atui. This is collecting a lot of classic 3DS games. It's total pixel art. They didn't update any of the art to kind of, you know, the hand-painted stuff that they're going to be doing with Chicken Wiggle. But there was just a very ingenious sort of precision with these games, and you get a couple of the traditional platforming games, and then you also get a Mutant Mudds puzzle experience on here. And I think you can get everything for like 15 or 20 bucks. And there's a ton of levels, there's a ton of challenge, and it drives you a bit crazy, but you're not gonna ever walk away thinking like the game is beating you up. It just seems smart, and it seems challenging, and it's very well made, and that's a lot of game for the dough as well. So if you're looking for a very fun platformer / puzzle experience, you should check out the Mutant Mudds collection. Now, number 4 is going to be Stardew Valley, which you can play on lots of different machines out there as well. This is it's a farming kind of role-playing experience, which has things in common with Harvest Moon and I guess Farmville and stuff like that. It's very chill. It's very zen. You're basically surviving and trying to stay alive and keep your farm alive and meeting all kinds of cool characters. But you get so addicted to the experience. You know, everybody that starts this game has a very tough time putting it down. And that's why it's awesome on the Switch, because you don't have to put it down. You just always walk around playing Stardew Valley, managing your farm. You know, again, cutesy, pixel art, retro, not taxing the system at all graphically, but there's a lot of, you know, innate complexity and lots of value and lots of love in this game. Very, very cool experience. And I actually haven't played enough of it on the Switch. That's one that I've got on my machine, but I haven't played enough that I can review the whole thing yet. But I've dabbled with it on the PC, and I've checked it out on the Switch, and I need to play more of it. Steamworld Dig 2 is number 3 for me. This is a game that I raved about. It was one of my top 10 from last year. It's exquisite. It's just a beautiful game. It runs perfectly on the Switch. It looks fantastic on a big screen TV. I think this footage is 60 frames per second. It's a fusion of Dig Dug and a Metroidvania, which is so clever. It crystallizes a lot of the concepts that were in the first Steamworld Dig, which you can also get for the Switch, which is also great. But it refines it and makes it, you know, a little flashier, a little slicker, and endlessly enjoyable. It's a very cool game. And I'll tell you what, if you have this game, this is a good game to gift to other people, and it's available on every system too. But Image and Form out of Sweden did a phenomenal job with this game. It's really a love letter to you know, fans of platforming action adventures like that, and Metroidvania fans. Owlboy, also another 2D Metroidvania type of experience. This game knocked me out, and I think this came out on the PC last year, and it's on everything as well. But on the Switch, again, it's like, oh my God, it looks fantastic, and then you can bring it with you. You know, you have like this epic, you know, Game Boy type of experience with this thing that looks like it came out of the 16-bit era. Maybe the 32-bit era, maybe on the 32X or something like that. But you know, this cool conceit of being able to wear this cape that you can fly around in, and then you can teleport your buddies in, and you know, awesome boss battles. Again, a terrific script. So there's a you know, great characterization and lots of funny lines throughout this thing. Gorgeous game, and I raved about this in the review, but the music for this game just knocked me out. I played it. You know, cranked it, bowled over by it. I was like really just impressed by the majesty of the experience. And then my daughter came into the room, saw me playing it, and she was just like, wow, this sounds really good. And she really dug it as well. Incredible game, Owlboy. And my number 1 is something that I played on Let's Play and Chat on EP Live. Tragically, I was awful. It was so hard to concentrate. This is Celeste, by the creators of Towerfall, which you might have just seen in the credit sequence there. This is, again, it's a platformer. It's an adventure game where you're kind of trying to get as far as you can. You're solving mysteries. It's all about precision, and there's a real empathy strewn throughout this experience as well. The developers know that you're playing something with the tenacity of Meat Boy. Super Meat Boy's on the Switch as well. It's excellent there as well. And also Cave Story. So there's a whole bunch of these, man. The list is really long. But this is, again, complex, and it gets a little ethereal and strange and weird. There's dreamlike sequences, and it never ceases to be challenging and frustrating. But, God, it's gorgeous. It's really beautiful, and very cool music, very cool production, an exceptional work of art, you know? And it's games like this, like the Zeldas and the Marios and ARMS and the Splatoon, and those are all incredible, and you keep going back to those experiences, and you're wowed by them on the Switch. But I really feel like the indie stuff has turned out to be a very, very nice surprise, and it's one that you could predict, you know. And Nintendo wisely at GDC last year, before the Switch had come out, had their first Nindy event. Or at least the first for the Switch, and it went over very well, and it was just really well put together with some cool games. We're still waiting for Shakedown Hawaii, Brian Provinciano. Shout out to Brian. But it really kind of showcased that the Switch is a great home for these titles, but also that Nintendo was working really hard to bring us quirky and cool games that are a good fit for this machine. And you know, now it's become very clear that if you are just a fan of indie games, you've got a great console that you can pack around with you, and you don't have to spend a fortune on a Surface machine that also can, or a huge gaming laptop or something that you can also play all that stuff on. So bravo, I say, to Nintendo and the Switch. Those are 5 of my favorites. I actually threw in a few extras there for you, but keep the Nindies coming, Nintendo, would you? It's very cool.